and then I conclude. Number one is the history of disability agenda in Kenya over the last almost 60 years in a nutshell. That the disability was part of the agenda as we attained independence, and the records indicates that by 1959, a campaign that really was part of the transition from colonial powers that were exiting into our independence in this country. But then it was limited to the one sector of persons living with disability. It dealt with they were responding to the blind community, and at that time, because the church had played a huge role many years before through missions and created awareness as missionaries to the powers that be. But then government as it is and people were excited to be independent, it became a forgotten, yes, it was dragging until there was a demonstration, very serious one, in 1964. That brought about the limelight in this country, and slowly it was accepted and it became an agenda amongst the agendas that this country had over the years. Significantly, as you may remember, is that both internationally and locally, laws were necessary to be enacted so that it can become the anchor and the basis on which campaigns, sensitization, policies would be influenced with that strength. And soon in the United Nations, a few years ago, it became a real agenda on the platform of the world stage. And an act was given which informed many countries to sign into law treaties covering us. This has influenced the way Kenya has really responded to, or especially over the last 20 years. Very serious, if I can give you in summary, that our laws in this country quickly responded to the international treaties, like I shared in our last meeting we held in Westlands in detail. And one of such significant transformative step that was taken is the forming of KEDIPA in Parliament, in our own national Parliament. That is Kenya Disability Parliamentary Association. It is a caucus that came out so that it can champion the interest of disability in this country in all forms. So KEDIPA became the first ever parliamentary caucus for legislators with disabilities to be formed in the Kenyan history, building on the foundation of those who came before us. But why is it significant? It is because the agenda of special groups swallowed the importance of outlining and louding out the position of disability. And we were grouped under special group. And under that special group, women were brought in and their campaign was louder than all others. So soon the agenda about ladies, and we have no problem about it, we are saying it takes everybody to voice his need. So, and I want to congratulate our ladies, because in the last over 40 years, they have really succeeded to put forward their agenda properly. And now you no longer have to campaign for them. You only need to be sensitive that you are including them. That is the only thing. Otherwise, utaona chamchama kuli. But congratulations, ladies, for the good work on behalf of the rest who came before you. We have great women who stood out during very difficult moments, and the agenda came to the both local and international stage. Now, after we had the treaty and the multilateral decision that was made in the UN 2008, it became necessary for all African states and other nations to sign a treaty associated with that. This gave room for all of us, those who came before us, to agitate for the recognition for the issues affecting persons with disability. Now, to come specifically, let me leave other areas, is the question of political parties. You know, politics is a game of expediency. It is not necessarily facts. It plays in the arena of perception. If you can stand before people and say there is a thief there and convince everyone, and therefore for us to catch that thief, let us vote together. And you can win votes. But later on, we're looking for the thief, other things crop up, they become reasons, and then one reason leads to another, and then we move on. Then we discover it looks like there was research that was not done. And the next time comes, and we can explain also another. So politics is a game of expediency. It is about perception. Sometimes it's not about facts. But you see, to deal with the agenda of persons with disability is facts. It is a reality. These are people who are human beings like anybody else, and they are entitled to all rights. They have opinions, they have decisions. Sometimes I make a joke, and I say, for a disabled to be branded successful, you must work twice as hard as anybody else, or even 3 times. Because the first thing you need to do is to convince people that you are a human being like anybody else, and that you are really human. In terms of, I was reading an article about humanness and factors of humanity. And that you have to convince everybody to tell them I'm a human being like anybody else. I need basic things like anybody else. I catched polio when I was 5. And I had to stay in the village for 15 years. When those who were of my age went to school early, I started school 10 years later. I remember when I wrote my Standard 7 CPE, and I passed very well. My relatives asked me, what next? You are too old to go anywhere. But you have gotten Standard 7 CPE and you have passed very well. Why should you go higher? That's the question. Can you imagine? I had to struggle to explain myself why I should go to secondary school. I became a bit diplomatic. I told one of the person who came directly to me, I said, you know, can I tell you something? You know, you have been up there too long, so you are tired, you are looking at life downward. But me, on the other hand, I've been down here for a long time, I'm looking at life upward. So that's why I want to go up. But let me tell you, It took a lot of explanation. Even joining politics, people ask, what do you want? What do you want to become a politician? I remember in 1979, a friend of mine who was a victim of polio like me, but very active man, vied for a nomination in Kano, in the world. I mean, that time it was county council. And he won. And you know the DC those days was the presiding officer. Now in the evening, he received a telephone call. Ask Abraham, tell him to return the ticket. He got it wrongly. He went to the DC's office in Cabernet. He was told, how can you assist people when you yourself, you need assistance? And the certificate was withdrawn. And in real time. And he was actually, he was like my role model because he was older. And that thing made me to be dedicated and committed that I must witness a day that they will see the same man like that gentleman being in parliament, if not in, being in the county council, if not in parliament. And today we are more than that. We might be surprised even the next governor of Nairobi will be a man with a physical challenge. We don't need to explain anymore. It's a very, so it required a lot of explanation, Maureen. It took a lot of sacrifice. It took a lot of, to speak on behalf of, so may I tell you a little bit about KEDIPA, because this is now a cluster of political leaders who have come through elections and others have been nominated. Several of us are elected when we are members of KEDIPA, and others have been an affirmative action by our political parties. We are not yet where we are supposed to be, but through that little struggle, we have gained some ground. And in fact, among the best debaters in Parliament are members of KEDIPA. Among them. The Speaker catches their attention because he himself is really intentional in terms of giving room. The leadership in Parliament have given us an opportunity to participate like others. Therefore, the purpose of having KEDIPA was to strengthen parliamentary and legislative agenda in Parliament. That is the core role. We also push for any other related agenda affecting persons with disability, including speaking on their behalf when there is no inclusion in terms of employment, in terms of other rights that they need to enjoy. Parliamentarians in this are your voice, and we have the opportunity. And working with them, therefore, and we want to thank Westminister Foundation for really being part of this agenda and became a friend and a facilitator. So much that we have been able to network with organizations and CPOs and others who may not have been able to conduct us. You have become the bridge and listen to the stories affecting stakeholders in the field of disability. And I want to assure you tonight, you have a voice in Parliament. And Parties are trying. There may be some shortcomings. I know some of you have gone through experiences, sometimes very difficult, because let me tell you, politics is an investment. No one should cheat you. It requires resources. And sometimes persons with disability may not have enough resources, but they have the potential and capacity for representation. Maybe in future, organizations such as your organization, Director, should be able to be part in terms of creating a mobilization agenda in the world stage. I am sure someone somewhere in the world got some resources that can be channeled to such needs, so that the basic requirements in terms of political campaign can be given to such persons with disability. And I think that is one of the challenges. And some of the basic requirements. You need logistics, because campaigning is easy, and even people voting is easy, but safeguarding the votes through what we call having agents, people who coordinate the results, that is where you lose votes. That's why one Italian said, what is necessary in the process of election is not the voting, but the counting. My friend, that is where the challenge is. And if there is anyone who cares about persons with disability in terms of support, is not only providing logistics in terms of materials, but making sure that coordination of voting can be secured. Anything else, don't worry, because campaigns can be, it depends on how people love you, it is actually, politics is local. By the time you wake up and say, I want to be voting, I am sure there are some local factors that drives you, and there are some factors that are universally required by the political party. So the second thing is that the leadership in every political party, and especially the party leader, has a lot of influence in terms of creating priorities for candidates, especially championing for women, championing for persons with disability, championing for the youth, championing for the marginalized. It takes a pragmatic leader, a leader with a big heart to accommodate all those people. That is where it is. So if you want to win elections, make sure that you draw the attention of the leader of the party. Because within the rank and file of any party lies the personal interest of any leader. So even if you think they will represent you, don't stay there and wait. No, make sure that there is a way in which the leadership of the party pays attention that you are in a certain corner within the party. So don't wait at someone atakuhurumia. Kuna mtu ambaye anakuweka kwa agenda yake. None, my friend. You will be forgotten. And you will keep on shouting, wamewachwa walemavu. Na utakuta yule aliyekuacha akisema, na hii watu hawana akili. Wanawacha watu hata kama huyu. Si Mungu tanaani sisi. They know how to say. And you feel you are being loved. Nothing. So be strategic. Make sure you have coordinated efforts, coordinated strategy, and also the tactics of approach. So over the years, political parties have responded, and we want to thank our leading political leaders, especially after the promulgation of the Constitution. They have been sensitive on the agenda of inclusion. So The parties cannot be condemned that they don't have an agenda for persons with disability, but I think we need to increase sensitization and make sure that our presence are felt. This is the tactics of influencing the society. We are not having a problem whether or not ODM has an inclusive agenda or UDA. Those are the big parties. Jubilee, Ford Kenya, my friend, they have produced big people well, so I have to remember you. And those parties, some of the traditional parties, you cannot say they don't have agenda for persons with disability. What is required is a sensitization program by now civil society. One, creating programs, sensitization program, such as this one. You summoned us, Lord Moria, summoned us, and we had to leave everything we were doing and come. My chairman, I represent the chairperson for KEDIPA, Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi, who is physically challenged. He's our captain in the games that we are having going on this week, running for 2 weeks in Rwanda. He's our captain. So he has gone ahead to prepare a place for all of us. Can you imagine? And so tonight I'm representing him. He was supposed to be the speaker, and he conveys his best wish for every one of us, and thankful for your participation, Westminister. So, Director, you are doing very good. And we are actually working very well with you. You are such a great lady. Give a hand to this demonstration. I'm sure we are gaining a lot with you up there. So I am appealing to us that as we interact tonight, that let us be strategic in terms of sensitization. And we would like, in the process of sensitization, we need to organize ourselves into a stronger voice. Where I come from, I want to tell you a saying in my community. They say, what? End of quote. You can join lizards in a line until they form a snake. Yani, join them in a line. And so long as they are expressing some semblance of life, they become nyoka. And everybody will be scared. I want to say, one of the challenges we have, Maureen, is that we are so fragmented that we become too small and tiny pieces that we cannot make a presence. So I am not asking you to wind up your organizations, but I'm saying form associations that can produce a voice. You can be heard. In Parliament, there are so many groups that could be raising their concerns about persons. In fact, some of the disabilities that we never knew before, including autism in children, right? There is another one I'm defeated to pronounce. They call it dyslexia. And then others, where it impedes learning capacity of children. That was not within the project, but they cannot campaign and speak on their own. When we came together as KEDIPA, even yesterday I read a statement on behalf of KEDIPA speaking to the just celebrated World Disability Day. and this House had to prepare for a special time to listen to us for 15 minutes. Now, or also somewhere there. So I want to appeal to you in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, leaders of groups, with the help of Westminister and other organizations that you can, and we are happy you connected us with Finland, the Finnish Parliament. Let us have one voice. So I'm requesting that in Nairobi, for example, county, you should not fragment yourself. Instead, all the CPOs work as a team and have a voice to speak to all the parties. So that when you meet, you raise in a meeting, you say, blah, blah, this organization, we are representing persons with disability. That way you become part of the agenda. In Homa Bay, in Kisumu, in Baringo, in Paraguay, in Samburu, in Kajiado, in Nakuru, in Turkana, or in Northeastern. There is one in Northeastern called Nondo, and it is really making a present there. I was a guest of honor at one of the functions. So, Director, if we can do what we call better sensitization, then we are able to protect and ring-fence the gains we have made over the years. We want to appreciate commissions like National Gender for Equality Commission, because they are becoming an oversight commission on all the activities of government. And I'm requesting that you do what you call an evaluation on the current contractual demand by ministries. Whether the 5% which was kept for persons with disability still exists. I am getting a whisper that it is like they removed it or they downgraded from 5% to 2.2. And they are basing it on a wrong premise within which disability percentage was determined after the last census, which had a wrongly put question, and that they want to say Kenya, we have 2.2% of the total population. That's about 0.9 million. Kenya, we must be somewhere between 4 and 5 million. So that wrongly placed, it will inform the budget of the government on the issues of disability. So instead of getting 5% of the total budget, so what we require from the Commission, for example, is to agitate for a proper recount and census of persons with disability in that country by the Ministry of Labor and Social Concern. So if we do that, we can be able to get the right percentage that will inform the budget of the country in terms of allocating employment opportunities and also recognizing their presence in terms of their needs. That is what they call serious disabilities. They should enjoy the transfer of cash. But we would like to advance it. Disability is disability. It means an interruption of life. So if we can work together with the Commission, escalate it and make petition, then give it to us. We will present it to Parliament. So if you, how do you make your grievances known? It is by take advantage of what they call petitioning Parliament. So with that, I wish to say, I could say so many, but I know tonight you didn't want us to make speeches. You wanted us to eat. I can see some good sufurias there. I wish to say you have a partner, you have a friend, you have a voice in Parliament through KEDIPA. With that, I want to wish you every success in the intention of this evening's gathering. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's appreciate him one more time. Thank you so much, Honorable.